was 14 when the first Bioshock came out, and it was the first game to show me how games could be used to tell unique stories in a unique way. It hit me in a much more profound way than maybe the game honestly deserved, but even now in my 30s, I still have a soft spot for it. Since Bioshock's release, it's become in vogue to sneer at the franchise, and for the most part, it's justified because of stuff like Infinite's busted-ass moral compass and reports of creator Ken Levine's toxic management. But despite those valid critiques, the original Bioshock is still important to me. In this video, I'm going to go over some games that have come out since Bioshock that have embraced its influence. What exactly makes a game Bioshocky though? As with most things like this, it's a you know it when you see it sort of thing, but if I had to pick something, I'd say it's the atmospheric vibes that really make Bioshock stand out. Alright, let's start off chronologically with Singularity in 2010. Singularity is a first-person shooter that was developed by Raven Software, who has become recently known for the Call of Duty series. But back then, I knew them from stuff like Marvel Ultimate Alliance and that surprisingly really good X-Men Origins Wolverine game. In Singularity, you play as Captain Nathaniel Renko, and when investigating some strange electromagnetic happenings on a mysterious island called Cortoga 12, Renko finds himself getting flung back and forth through time between present day and 1955. And during this time anomaly, he ends up accidentally changing history by saving someone back in 1955, who later goes on to become a future dictator. So the rest of the game revolves around you using the TMD, or the time manipulation device, so you can go back in time and undo your pretty major fuck-up. The gameplay in Singularity is a lot less immersive simmy than Bioshock. It's just more of a straightforward first-person shooter campaign, but it does have some really interesting mechanics, like the time manipulation stuff, which do lead into some unique and impressive set pieces. I think that the story in Singularity is something definitely worth playing through, and you can pick it up for next to nothing nowadays on Steam. Alright, this one's probably my favorite one in the video, and it's Frictional Games' SOMA. Frictional is most well known for the Amnesia series, and this game is just one of the most distressing psychological horror stories that I still regularly think about. The game itself takes place in an underwater station called Pathos 2, which immediately brings to mind Rapture from Bioshock, but this is a pretty different situation. But I'm kind of getting a little bit ahead of myself here, because before you end up in Pathos 2, you're just a normal modern day guy who goes in and gets a brain scan. And then that's when you wake up in the future on Pathos 2. So the early parts of the game are about uncovering what the hell is going on, where you are, and why you're there. But during your exploration, you find a lot of creepy robots who seem to believe that they're people. And this is where a lot of the interesting philosophical stuff comes in. The more you investigate these robots and who they claim to be, it's revealed that they have real-life memories, and that they used to have real-life bodies, but now their consciousnesses seem to be trapped in these grotesque, strange, rusted machines. I don't want to spoil the major interesting ideas here, because I think you really should check this game out if you haven't played it yet. So if you like Bioshock and you want some similar unsettling aquatic vibes, or if you're just looking to experience some interesting philosophical science fiction, I highly recommend checking out SOMA. Arcane's Prey is a gem for fans of Bioshock. While Arcane is known for its immersive sims like Dishonored and my favorite Deathloop, Prey is definitely the most similar to Bioshock. Although Dishonored drew a ton of comparisons to Bioshock when it came out, it's more rooted in the Thief series, and Prey is cited as the spiritual successor to System Shock, as Bioshock is. In Prey, you play as Morgan Yu, who is stationed on a space station called Talos 1, where research on extraterrestrial beings called the Typhon is underway. The story has a ton of twists and turns, so I'm not going to give too much away. As for gameplay, Prey is an immersive sim within the structure of one large interconnected environment in a similar way to a Metroidvania. It's built in a way to allow players to come up with their own solutions to traversing the alien-infested space station. You can level up and choose different paths on a skill tree to give yourself different powers and spec yourself towards being able to approach things in different ways. Basically, what I'm saying is that if you want to play a space-based Bioshock, and you don't want to play the System Shock games for some reason, you should really check out Prey if you haven't. Here's the first game in the video that I haven't actually completely played through all of myself. I've touched it a bit, but I haven't actually finished it. And that's Conarium from 2017. It's a Lovecraftian horror game that is very, very, very inspired by At the Mountains of Madness. You play as one of 4 scientists on an Antarctic research station, and you wake up under mysterious circumstances where you find that the other 3 scientists are missing. It's just you and a mysterious device called the Conarium device. And if you're familiar with Lovecraft, you probably know that remote, frigid environments aren't a great place for the psyche. In Conarium, it's mostly a first-person adventure game where you're piecing together the story that's left in fragments all around you. As I said, this is one that I haven't finished myself, but it's definitely worth looking at if you're a fan of Bioshock, and especially if you're into Lovecraft. Let's follow that one up with another one that I haven't finished myself, but I've touched a little bit of, and that is The Crow's Eye. It takes a whole spoonful of Bioshock style and then mixes it with some Portal style puzzle design. You know, it's not a big budget game, let's say it's a little bit janky here and there, but it's still impressive and something worth checking out if you're into Bioshock and first-person puzzle games. In The Crow's Eye, you wander through a deserted medical university, picking up audio logs and solving puzzles. It's a pretty stylistically familiar thing going on here. I really did like what I played of this one, I just need to get back around to finally finishing it. In 2018, Red Matter was released, which is the only VR game in this video, and it's my favorite VR game that I've ever played. It's a first-person adventure-type game, similar to a few that I've mentioned in this video already, but it takes place on a Soviet-era style Martian space station. You play as Agent Epsilon, who is trying to uncover a quantum physics conspiracy. One thing about VR games that I've always found kind of annoying is how you move around in them. It's usually kind of cumbersome, and it typically creates a sort of disconnect between you and the real world and what's going on in the game, and it can kind of break immersion in a pretty significant way. But I think Red Matter honestly has one of the best solutions that I've ever seen to this. You're in a spacesuit for the whole game, so bulky movement has contextual sense to it. It justifies the inherent clunkiness of VR pretty well. If there's one thing that I would compare Red Matter to the most, I'd say it's close to like an escape room. You're just trying to figure out the bespoke little rooms that you find yourself in. But yeah, if you have the ability to play a VR game, I highly recommend checking out Red Matter. Close to the Sun is a game that wears its Bioshock inspirations on its sleeve. I mean, just look at this title treatment. I see what they're doing here. You play as Rose Archer, who's on a mission to rescue her sister Ada on a sea cruiser that is owned and operated by Nikola Tesla. So he has some pretty similar ideas to Andrew Ryan. While you're on board of the ship the Helios, you come across a lot of inventions by Tesla, and let's say a lot of the unintended side effects of his inventions. So just like Bioshock, there's going to be a lot of story told to you through audio logs while you explore a decaying, aquatic Art Deco environment. It's very Bioshock, and it's not hiding that at all. Having played through all of Close to the Sun though, I didn't love it top to bottom, but I would recommend it, just not emphatically. Industria takes a lot of influence from Bioshock, but also a healthy amount from the Half-Life series. It starts off in 1989 East Berlin while the Berlin Wall is in the process of coming down, but separately, you find yourself in the middle of a mysterious experiment that transports you to a different dimension in hopes of finding your missing partner. Honestly, the game's story lost me a bit because I found it to be vague and hard to grasp exactly what was going on. If you play through Industria though, you'll definitely see the Bioshock in this one. When it comes to many of the other games that are smaller scale that take a lot of inspiration from Bioshock, they usually end up dropping the combat. And that's something that Industria actually kept. It's a first-person shooter, and it's not a bad one at that. You fight a lot of creepy robots and machines that have taken over this world. It's got a really killer vibe to it that I really liked, although the story ends on a cliffhanger that I didn't understand, honestly. But recently they announced Industria 2, which hopefully can fill me in on what I experienced in Industria 1. But yeah, I recommend checking this one out, but just make sure you can get it on sale or something. I haven't played Atomic Heart yet, but I think it would be criminal if I didn't include it in this video. It definitely looks like it's one of the highest budget attempts to be a Bioshock-inspired game in the modern era. It's set in the Soviet Union in the 1950s, that's on the brink of a robotic uprising. It has an impressive retrofuturistic look to it, and I'm pretty interested in it, but the major reason that I haven't played it yet for myself is because there's a strange amount of controversy around it, and I can't quite pick it apart. Apparently it has something to do with Russian investment into the developer, so if you buy the game, theoretically some of the profits go to Russian interests, which in turn would go to fighting Ukraine. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but there's been enough smoke over it that the whole thing's a muddy mess. Hopefully it all ends up getting ironed out and cleared up, because I would like to give this game a shot, but I don't want to have this strange, weird cloud hanging over my head the whole time. Bioshock creator Ken Levine's upcoming game Judas is definitely looking way more similar to Bioshock than I was expecting. While I welcome the idea of another Bioshock-esque game, I was hoping for more of a departure from him. Either way though, if Judas is just another space-themed take on the immersive sim, that sounds pretty good to me. It's reported that it has some elements of the Nemesis system from Shadows of Mordor, and I think that sounds like that could be pretty cool. I just hope Ken Levine is treating his team better than he's reportedly treated his last few. Alright, and those were some Bioshock spiritual successors. I hope that you liked the video. I'm still a pretty small channel, so if you share around the video and subscribe and like and, all of the engagement things, that'd be super awesome. But yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching the video.